when I mention now names like Mrs. Merkel, even Vladimir Putin and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. Mm-hmm. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. We know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum.
That's true in Argentina as well.
It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. Mm-hmm. I mean, with the president, with young global leaders.
Hey, it's Gary King here at La Forêt Studio. I did a chat with old Serge, my brother Neil, the other day, and I'm not too sure when this is coming out. But anyway, we just talked about a load of things that he found, stuff to do with more absolutely ludicrous NASA nonsense. I mean, just look at some of these things. I mean, it's just so funny. Also, we talked about basically these security things that they want everybody to take part in through the internet, various sites. Take all of it with a pinch of salt. You know, we're trying to have a laugh with it all. We're not trying to be overly judgmental, but basically, yeah, we can call them whatever we like. Also, this morning, I watched a quick clip with Coffee. I'll put a link in the description because I thought the points that this guy was making were very good. It's called We Have a Crisis, This Guy Started It. Look at the picture of this guy. Would you trust him with any of your family members? And not the guy doing the video either, the guy in the thumbnail. Anyway, the video is called Kill Privacy Forever. You wanted your Skynet, folks. That's what's on the way. So anyway, here we go. Another little rendition. And like I said, we cover a few subjects. Some of them are a bit sketchy because they are a certain type of subject, especially to do with adult entertainment industry. But anyway, interesting because this is how they use these terms, and this is how you need to have your facial recognition and all this kind of thing going. You can see that the idea is right, but the end result is complete and utter control over everything that you do. So here we go. Hey, this is Gary here at La Forêt Studio, and it's a lovely day outside considering that we've had incredibly low temperatures down to 11 degrees, but that's a weird story in itself. Hey, I've got old Serge with me again.
Yay. Hello, mate.
Right, hey, so we're doing this again remotely. You're coming over next week, so we could have done it next week, but we decided we'd just do a little catch up on some of the things that you found more hilarious nonsense. But I've made a little note here of some of the things that we've sort of talked about over the last few days, because we had, as I said in my little quickie that I put up either yesterday or the day before, we had a couple of friends staying who you know pretty well. They've been sort of, they're in their 70s, right? But they're good fun. But last year when they came over, we dropped the old, are these singers in these, these pop icon women actually who they say they are? And of course, the lady, she bought right into it and started doing a bit of research. So this was their second sort of indoctrination, I suppose, into what we see and most people can't.
Their second instalment.
Yeah, so you came over, didn't you? And I said to them, I said, well, if you look, from a musical point of view, I've been doing this for 40 years. But from a authoritarian, which is obviously the wrong word to use, but for someone that is in the background that you are, they got both barrels, didn't they, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that you, or the royal we, you look at it from every angle possible, because there's always something else that's slightly different to find if you look at it from a different angle, different perspective. So, they got your side of things posing questions, and then my side of it, which, though it's singing along the same hymn sheet, if we can use that term, it's on a different perspective and relates to the same thing, but giving it two evidential pieces of information, yours, then mine.
Exactly. And I think that was a really good thing because, last year, showing our friend's wife some of these the sort of evidence that perhaps certain people aren't who they pertain to be. Her husband, great guy, my wine drinking mate, he said, all I keep doing now is looking at Adam's apples. Right? So every time he sees one of these pop divas, he's checking out the Adam's apple, right? And I said, well, there you go. So that was really good, because this time round we showed them other things. We won't go too much into it, but we showed them other things. And it's kind of sad, really, because they've got they got two granddaughters, right? And they're really nice looking girls as well. But one of them's 20. I don't know how old the other one is. And I don't know whether it's both of them, but they've gone and had the old satin tattoos done, right, because of a certain singer. And when I showed Carol a couple of other pictures of this certain singer that they think is fantastic, she went, oh dear. These pictures just happen to be of this person without any makeup on, right? So we did all that again, but we also got into the whole subject of the next generation and how, let's say for argument's sake, these two girls, the granddaughters, if you don't let them know slowly and delicately without dropping the bombshell on them like we would do, because we've got no tact whatsoever, right? But you've got to let them know there's a certain group of characters in this world who are not on the public side. So we went over a bunch of stuff and so on. And then I don't know if you can even remember, because you only came over for lunch, so you didn't have too much wine, right? But what you told them, I think, was so important, because like I said, they look at me and they go, Gary's just a drummer, for God's sake, what does he know, right? But they're not like that. But then you come over with your experience, worldly knowledge, and as I said to him, I said, he wasn't Mr. Plod, he weren't some flatfoot, or I said he was training people. And they're like, oh, right, and then you dropped a few things on them and they're like, yeah, all right, then we understand what you're saying. And I thought that was good, because it showed. I was going to say this really quickly. I've had a few sort of messages from people who've said, why are you bothering even doing this? That is exactly the reason why we do this, because if we can sort of open somebody's imagination up just a fraction, then we've done the right thing, haven't we? Can you remember what you would talk to them about? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Well, we were talking about the artificial intelligent generating images.
Oh, that's right. That's where it started, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. They were talking about, imagery and stuff like that. And I said, well, it is. And we talked about this before. It's very easy if you know how to use any of the digital programming software programs like Photoshop and stuff like that. And I know you're going to put up some images that, if you really believe that these images are real, then fine. That's down to you. But what I said is that when you look at these things now, and people look at that looks fantastic. And it's even more recent this year, mainly.
Yeah.
Particularly with, some of the Mars rover pictures and stuff like that, or some of the other ones that, one of the ones that I sent you, which I think you'll probably use about the space training and stuff like that, going to Mars and all that type of stuff. It says artist's image.
That's right, yeah.
People look at them and they go, great. It's like, the one that's really, really hit home with the IA or whatever it is, A3 Atlas, because it won't come up again at the moment.
The interstellar object.
Yeah.
Just that name alone. Just the fact that they call it interstellar means it. Come on. Anyway, sorry, mate. Go on, carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fine. But the image that's shown on it, and when you look at the site that it comes on, is on futurism.com. Futurism.
Yeah.
And a report that the Atlas comet is travelling at 137,000 miles per hour.
What's so funny, mate? What's so funny? I've got it here. It says, the object, generally believed to be a comet, is screaming through the solar system. Screaming! Yeah. And
it's going to pass Mars by next week. come on, you know. I'm not saying it's not out there. I don't know. I'm not in an observatory or anything else. But, you know, the report that the Sun targeted it, not the Sun newspaper, the Sun.
With the page 3 girl on it.
Yeah, we targeted it by firing out solar plasma to try and take its tail off or something like that. I was reading it. Now, you know, how are they recording something that is that far out, so many millions of miles away, past Mars?
Oh, yeah.
At 137 miles per hour, when the coppers of today can't even catch anyone speeding.
And also, what's so funny, because I've got it here on the screen right in front of us at the moment. It's quite cool, actually. This is how we used to do it with Sarah. We pull up the pictures and she would have them. So it's good that you sent me those. Hello, how's Sarah? All right, mate. It says here, it was recent. I mean, how anybody believes this absolute rubbish? I mean, everything. I mean, of course, like we said, it's all part of the game. It says here, and it recently met some considerable resistance as well during its unusual visit. Earlier this week, the Sun unleashed a ferocious flurry of plasma and magnetic fields called a carousel mass ejection, right? Straight at the A31 Atlas. I mean, how these people sleep at night is beyond me. It really is beyond me. But I thought, like I said, it was brilliant. And of course, when you started talking to them about how these things, you know, especially a photography point of view, and of course, our mate, my wine drinking friend, he's a big old sci-fi fan, like we were, you know, or we are, like we love the old Star Wars and all this kind of stuff. And we did the old Mandela thing with him as well, didn't we? And asked him what colour C-3PO was. And when I told him about the leg, he was like, nah, that's ridiculous. He's always been... And Pete's like... call him Pete. Pete and Carol, whatever, they don't care. Pete's like 74, I think, you know, something like that. We asked them all the questions, and they answered all the questions exactly as we expected them to answer. So obviously we're all completely mad. But then when you started to talk to them about the photography thing, and I said to him, I said, do you really think that this James Webb telescope that looks like a giant coffin with a cake stuck on the top couldn't have cameras on the back of it taking pictures of the Earth as it ventured off into outer space? I said, look at the pictures, Pete, and tell me, do you really think they look real? Because to me, they look like a 10-year-old kid's done it on his dad's iPhone, right? And as you just mentioned, and was it artistic imagery or something like that? I said, up in the corner of most of these pictures, they're telling you that it's a rendering, that it's not even a real photograph.
No, it's an art illustration.
Artist illustration, yeah. Piss artist.
And I mean, just going on to that, the other one that I talked, and we'll go on to the one that you said about the ISS, what's been banned, because I found out what the fuck that are banned on that one. You know, but you'll have to cut and paste the image of the butterfly.
Oh yeah,
right, on the sun. So we're led to believe that the good old sun that keeps us nice and warm and allows the crops to grow and the grass and is essential to our living in this realm, has had an image, a giant butterfly shaped hole 25 times wider than the Earth, has just opened on the sun.
Yeah.
A butterfly.
Yeah, there's your Monarch programming again.
Yeah.
You know, it couldn't be. And of course, as I said to Carol, I said to her, did you see the space trannies, you know, in their blue jumpsuits, the hair changes, you know, in pictures and stuff like that, after all that story. We did that before. But I said, why do you think old Katy Perry, old Kev, why do you think that one was holding up a butterfly, right? And of course, last year, Carol pulled up, she goes, here, look at this. After I went to bed, she said, look at this, and she was showing me all this butterfly stuff, and I said to her, well, that is supposedly part of this Monarch programming, the Monarch butterfly. And then you told me about this thing on the sun, and it's like, well, what a surprise to find out that they're apparently telling you that it's a butterfly. And of course, on old Queen Charlene's demonic picture, all in red, what's flapping about just under his arm or under her arm, whatever, is a butterfly, right? They just keep rolling this rubbish out.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
But we'll just have a quick rendition of. I think I sent you one of the image. Well, if not, I'll send it to you of photograph that was taken from the moon in 1969. But you can tell that the bit on this has actually been faked because it's got a guy with his thumb up, holding his thumb up in front of the Earth on the moon. The same photograph from 1969, in colour, by the way, taken on Kodak cameras, which we know from the professional people and the reports and the guy that actually designed the cameras, that it would have been impossible for them to take photographs like that in 1969.
Yeah.
But the 5 things that are banned, go on.
Oh, hang on, right, okay, so we're going to do, this is the next picture, right? It's quite funny because, like we said, is how anybody, oh, there you go, that the top one says NASA spots mysterious giant structure breaking through Mars atmosphere, right? But anyway, this thing here, but I haven't got the 5 activities. What I've got is this silly looking, I don't know whether it's supposed to be a woman waving, but it says the 5 activities banned on the International Space Station, like blowjobs, I don't know, some kind of sexual innuendo, I don't know, baby oil parties. What are the 5 things banned on the space station?
Drinking alcohol.
Right.
Use of unapproved materials or tools. Smoking. Smoking or any open flames. Throwing or tossing various objects.
Which is what they do all the time.
And sex.
Well, what about...
That's what it is. I just opened it up.
Brilliant.
5 activities. You can't throw or toss yourself off because that's sex. Smoking, well, you know...
You can't exactly go out on the balcony, can you? Do you know what I mean? I mean, obviously they're in a movie set, so I suppose they can do whatever they like. But isn't it funny how they don't ban hairspray? And yet it's quite obvious when you look at these clowns with this sticky up hair. They're like got some big major sponsorship from Weller or something like that for their hairspray. But this stupid picture, which you'll see, of this little person waving, and of course, is that little person doing the old 666 sign there? I think yes, it possibly is.
Yeah.
So that was brilliant. Anyway, so we'll run through these pictures because the next one down, I think that's the next one down. My one's got the head cut off.
Yeah, that's the video. This is on the BBC. This is the
commander of NASA's mission.
Yeah, Reed Wiseman.
Right, that's the command. Right, so it says the commander of NASA's next mission to the moon said that he and his crew would see things that no humans have ever seen. Right, well, hang on a minute. I thought in 1969, some clowns went up there and saw things that people had never seen before. So what's he talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I like the BBC stroke NASA. BBC, as we call it, bullshit corporation.
Yeah, the British bullshit corporation.
And they've got all these. They've got the crew stood in front of the United States flag, patriotic. Just a picture of their shoulders and their heads in orange spacesuits, out of Armageddon.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. What happened to those giant spacesuits? I'll bring that picture in with that funny little so-called woman in those giant things with it would literally look like they had a refrigerator on their back. Aren't they using those anymore then? Yeah, it is. It's the Armageddon spacesuit.
Yeah. The one that you'll put on with the guys in the different type of spacesuits, which is an artist illustration of what is possibly projected for future space ventures out to Mars and stuff like that, was really good. And the other one that I liked was the lady Christina, again on the International Space Station, holding, I don't know, I wouldn't even know what they are. Longest single space flight by a woman during her time on the International Space Station in 2019, and their hair.
Oh yeah, it looks like looks like they're holding ray guns.
It looks like they're holding
That's those
ray guns.
two dodgy looking birds, right, with ray guns.
The dark top is the lady that's going to be going up to the moon, and we'll talk about that.
Isn't it funny, mate, how they both look literally identical? They got the same faces, right? One's wearing glasses, one isn't. They got identical hair, right? They got exactly the same hair, curly hair. So I would say, and we'll probably find out later on, that these are a couple of sisters, if they're whatever. And look at the ray guns they got in their hands. I mean, brilliant find, I'll tell you.
It's brilliant. You see her on the on that main thing, and then you've got Jeremy Hansen, the mission specialist.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him. He looks like Buzz Lightyear. He looks just like Buzz Lightyear. His chin, sorry, his jaw.
That's what it says when you read the bit at the bottom. With his Buzz Lightyear like square jaw.
This just gets better and better.
Clean appearance as an architectural heroic astronaut. As a Canadian, he is set to become the first non-American to go to the moon. Well, there we go.
You see, this is what I was saying to Pete and Carol about how they create these characters like Churchill and all these people. I said, why will you always remember what they look like? And it's like none of these people look like normal people, right? And there they are. Buzz Lightyear, right? Why would you even put... There's supposed to be a serious business, right? The clean-cut appearance, he comes across as, you know, the heroic astronaut, right? It's all in the script. And I love the guy just above him, Victor G. Glover. I mean, look at him. Would you trust him?
Yeah, when you look at the thing and the information it says on there, and anyone can go online and look at it. We're not lying here. It's there. It's on the BBC site. What I liked about was the picture that he's there, stood there with his missus in Time 100 Next. Glover and his wife Diana Glover in New York in 2023, and it says Victor's call sign. So is it going to be that the Canadian's going to be called Buzz? You know, and this one, his call sign is Ike. Which is reputedly short for I know everything.
Yeah.
Good. Well, if that's the way his attitude is, you sanctimonious.
Exactly. And how about this? Oh, I thought this was great. Those who have met Victor say he's the most charismatic of the quartet. Looks like a miserable bastard to me in that picture. And the most sharply dressed, with designer brown leather boots, making him look good even in an orange flight suit. What's he wearing? Designer brown leather boots in an orange flight suit? Pushing ourselves to explore is core to who we are, he said in a NASA interview. It is part of being human. Nobody talks like that, right? I mean, mate, you were in serious situations. Nobody talks like this, right? These are all made up actors. I mean, come on. And when people say, oh yeah, but they got families and their families are involved in all this, well then, as far as I'm concerned, their families are in on it as well. What a bunch of knobheads.
They have to be with, if you can hear the growling, that's the dog. Sorry, they're obviously looking at the cats again. But again, like I said, it's just like there's no need to put certain parts of information in. You know, Buzz is going to be the first Canadian to go to the moon. Right? Victor is set to be the first black person to go to the moon. Well, I mean,
about time, right? You know what I mean?
I'm either blind or stupid. I can see he's black. Why do they need to put that in?
You know, again, I think the funny thing about it is that, you know, when they play these sort of stupid games. I can't open this up now for some reason. Oh, there it is. When they play these stupid games, again, it's always these like these agendas to do with like sort of race and all this kind of stuff and so on. And they are wearing 100% that Armageddon Bruce Willie Willis jumpsuits, spacesuits, right? Without a doubt, if you matched them up, you'd say they're exactly the same. But what's quite funny under the Jeremy Hansen mission specialist, I mean, you can read into more of that, but it says the Artemis 2 astronauts ready to go to the moon for all humanity. So you ask, well, what exactly is let's just say they really were going to this white ball we see in the sky. What is that going to do for humanity? It's not going to do anything for you. If it was real, let's say it was real, just to be whatever you want to call it, it was real. What is that going to do for you and me or my neighbour? Nothing is the answer. But what is quite funny is next to it, and of course, as we've got these pictures in order, Falcon 9 launches 24 Starlink satellites from California. Why is that thing curving in a dome shape then? Surely that should be going up. Like straight up. No, look at it. You can see it. They're actually showing you a picture of it curving because it can't go up.
I mean, I like the bit at the beginning of BBC, and find it, mate, and have a look at watch the video, because it's enlightening when you look at all these people sitting there saying this is going to happen. Yesterday, NASA announced it hoped it would be able to launch the first crewed moon mission in 50 years as early as February 2026. So, anyone listening or wants to comment and stuff like that, eyes down.
Oh, yeah.
February 2026 for a good launch. And the mission specialist, Christina, explained that the astronauts would be able to study the lunar surface in exquisite detail for a full 3 hours. It doesn't actually say they're going to land. It says they're going to go to the moon. And it says, believe it or not, human eyes are one of the best scientific instruments that we have, she said. Well, we know that.
No shit, Sherlock.
You got to
right?
wear, and you can't see what you're actually doing. A follow-on article, which I haven't downloaded, but it came up after that, find on that information and everything, that the crew of Artemis 2 have been doing simulated moonwatch training. So there's this great photograph of Ike and Christina. Ike and Christina sounds like Ike and Tina, doesn't it?
Christina, Ike and Tina. It's Ike and Tina. Fantastic. Ike and Tina. Right, note that, everybody. Ike and Tina are back, except this time they're wearing spacesuits.
Well, I thought you'd like that one. I thought about that when I was editing those pictures. Ike and Tina are back.
Brilliant. Anyway, listen, on that note, Ike and Tina, remember Ike and Tina? I think it's time to charge our glasses. Right, so we're back. I just went and filled my glass with old Chris's French mouthwash. Old Serge there just he just pulled up some more things that they can't do in fake outer space. And one of them, you're not allowed to have bread up there, right?
Yeah, because of the particles. Sorry, I'm just wiping my eyes because what is banned in space? Smoking candles, matches, lighters, because the International Space Station, the ISS, is very delicate.
Like with that. Now, obviously, no one's going to have a box of matches, right? So, but apparently, you can goof around with balls and droplets of water and have wires hanging all over the place that you can get tangled up in. The place looks an absolute mess. It looks like some student's dorm room, doesn't it? Okay, and it just, like I said, even from a logical point of view, anybody with any sense will look at that and go, well, this doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. And that's because, as we know, it's not real. But what else was there on that list?
I like the question that someone had paused, that do female astronauts wear bras in space?
Only if they've got big jugs.
And the answer that's on Google is, if you mean, do they wear underwear in the International Space Station? Yes. Both men and women are sent clothing in their sizes at regular intervals.
Where'd they get them up there then?
Both outerwear and, well, of course.
Carrier pigeon.
They launched the rocket up, which does the old space dock, drops off all the stuff, all the crap that they've taken, gets loaded in. 50 tons a year, I think it said, didn't it? Something like that, or 250 tons a year.
Nobody could go up there when they got stuck, right?
Yeah, and it says they wear bras.
I'm sure they do.
I think more out of convention than for support, since support is a non-issue in a microgravity situation. Does that mean the old blokes are floating around in there?
But the thing about it, like I said, about it is, I know people turn around and they go, well, they can't all be in on this scam. And it's like, yeah, of course they can all be in on it, right? If they're getting paid, people will do anything like for money, right? Reading this one here. Although Tina was born 11 years after the photograph was taken, she kept a poster of the Earth rising above the lunar surface. Just as that moment inspired a generation living through the 1960s, she said in a NASA interview that she hoped her mission would enable a new generation to live through what they lived through, and as it did at the time, make the world a more optimistic place. And it's like, have you seen what is going on around the world at the moment? Obviously this is being read from a script, right? But these statements that these clowns make just prove straight away that they have, we know they're actors, right? We know they're just playing a part, but a real person would not say anything like that, because you only have to look at what is going on around you to go, well, how is this even going, would it even change anything? And of course it wouldn't, which is why they do it. And I just love their space guns. They look brilliant. Are they allowed to wear makeup up there? That's the question.
Well, I don't know. I'm just going to send you a picture.
Okay.
This is the image that was taken in 1969.
Oh yeah, the classic.
The classic picture. But the picture, which I can't bring up for some reason, of the 5 things that were banned, was that image with an astronaut stood beside the Earth with his thumb up.
Yeah, like, yay! Look where we are.
Yeah. But there we go. So that was that side of things.
Look at this. This is hilarious. William Anders of NASA. His message, I don't know who said this, but he goes, his message is one of unity and inspiration, not just for the US, but the entire world. Really? It just boggles my mind, the crap that these people push out and get away with. And it comes down here, it says at the bottom, it goes, during his time with the CSA, Jeremy was a fighter pilot. And this is what you do. See what it says there? It goes, Jeremy was a fighter pilot, physicist, and actronaut. Right? Not astronaut, actronaut. So they're basically underwater, which is where they do all their crap anyway, before he joined the Canadian Space Agency in 2009. During his time with the CSA, another one of those 3-lettered organisations you should never trust, he became the first Canadian to lead astronaut training at NASA Johnson Space Centre. He is married with 3 children and enjoys sailing, rock climbing and mountain biking. Also, he loves swingers clubs. He's got 2 dogs and a cat. It's absolute rubbish. These people are not real. I don't care what anybody says. They're actors.
That photograph was taken on the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. On our 8 space missions. William Anders was born in 1933.
There you go. There it is again.
1933 in British Hong Kong, and died on the 7th of June 2024 in San Juan County at the age of 90. Good old guy. He was an electrical engineer, a nuclear engineer, American United States Air Force Major General. And for some reason, his parents gave him the middle name of Allison.
But that was funny, talking about the numbers, and we'll get off of these pictures now, because we'll go on a bit about some of these other things. We dropped with Pete and Carol the old numerology, didn't we?
Yes.
We showed them about the 33s, the 8, which is basically a 3 mirrored and all this kind of stuff. You went through some of that stuff with them, and I said to Carol, once you understand what it's about, you will see it more and more. Now, is that the good energy coming from the ether that's opening your eyes? I don't know. We don't know, because we don't know anything, do we? Just a couple of bods, right? But to see these numbers, and then she started to see it as well, and she's like, oh yeah, I see what you mean. I said, and of course we had to explain to Pete, and he goes, yeah, but what does it mean? And I said, well, you know about the old so-called secret societies that everybody just seems to happen to know about. I said, there's one group of people who do stupid shit like roll their trouser legs up, take a shoe off, do funny handshakes, all that kind of stuff, tuck their hand inside in their jacket. And whilst we were having a gallon of wine, I was showing them and I said, why do you think all these so-called celebs, these blokes who got their hands tucked inside, got a hand tucked inside their jacket? And Pete went, I don't know. I said, what do you think? They're all cold? I said, it looks stupid. I said, look, there's a picture of Napoleon, another character that probably didn't exist. I said, why are they all doing this? Why are they all doing this? And then I pulled up the international book of men who apparently mucked about with a load of rocks. You know what we're talking about. And they've all got their hands tucked inside their jackets, right? And he went, oh yeah, well, that's a bit odd, isn't it? And then we went over the old... like me and Sarah did the old Westminster Bridge thing. I said, why are they taking all these people's shoes off? And as I said to you, and we mentioned this before, didn't we? In your entire career as a policeman officer, did you ever take the shoes off of somebody in a road traffic collision and park them by the side neatly in a pair? The answer is no. Right?
No.
in all those years. So why would they take pictures? And Pete went, well, that seems a bit odd, doesn't it? But anyway, by the end of their poor few days here and their ear holes being busted, there was, Pete actually said, he goes, well, there's something very odd going on, isn't there? And I said, exactly, mate. He said, what is the reason for them, say, to do this? And I kind of explained it to him and so on. And he said, well, basically then, we can't win, can we? And I said, no, not in the old-fashioned way of, well, let's go and get them. That ain't never going to work. But I said to him, I said, this is all about an internal, independent journey. Whereas like we said, I'm not going to speed. I'm not going to rob my neighbour. I'm not going to park my car where I shouldn't park it. I'm not going to do all that obviously stupid stuff that you could get a ticket for or whatever. But I do not consent to your bullshit. And he actually got to the point where he agreed there is definitely something not right with this picture. So it showed you, didn't it, that by me and you and Mum, the three musketeers, right? So either the three of us are mad, or the three of us have got some kind of idea that the game is rigged. The old George Carlin, the game is rigged. Sarah sent me a video. I haven't watched it yet. And I think it's probably going to be quite good because a little bit of research and that she does or has done a lot of it, it opens up things to where we are, what's happening, why it happens now, what happened in the 1800s, the 1850s and so on. But our job, like your job, like my job as a producer, your job as an instructor and a trainer, is to get people to understand that things aren't always as they seem. And Pete came down in the studio because he wanted to come down. He'd never seen me play. And I said, I don't want to bang the drums. They're horrible. They're noisy, make your ears hurt and everything. So I showed him some videos. And he said to me, he goes, I had no idea this is the level of stuff that you do. Why aren't you up there with the rest of them? And I said, well, because I told you, I'm not in the club, mate. And I think then he could register what we were trying to explain to them and how... And the other thing, they brought up about the old 91 DivoC when they moved back to England, which we knew they were going to do because of their, because they're very close with their other family out there and back there and so on. They had to go into one of these convict bubbles, right? And I said to Carol, I said, what? And she goes, yeah, we had to sort of register where we were going to stay. And she said, the funny thing was, she said, nobody ever came knocking at the door to find out. And I said, no, because you were conned, mate. You was set up. And she said, yeah, well, I thought that was a bit odd. I said, well, now you're starting to put the puzzle together, piece by piece. I went through the whole thing about the Crisis Cast people. And those three clowns, those three young blokes that were pushing the agenda, because they all ended up in hospital. One of them's named Kindliness. And there he was cuddling this pink teddy bear, right? But he was also on Star Now, which is an actor's site. And they were both like, Yeah, kind of sort of see what you're getting at now. So, that's why we all do Michelle Gibson, Stephanie, Sarah, you, Chris and Dom, Whisper Jack. This is why we do this. It's got nothing to do with trying to get some kind of pat on the back or, oh yeah, it's going to boost up my hits on songs we've worked on or your photography. It's because this is a calling. We have to do this because we're all sick of being bamboozled. And also, we've learnt a lot and it's extremely funny, isn't it? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to look at things, and then other things spring to mind when we're talking about things, not just about the music industry and about films, and like you mentioned when we spoke on the phone yesterday about films, and I said about you look at the outfits in Armageddon, and then you talked about Space Cowboys.
Great movie.
Why was
Great
it
movie.
Great movie. It said a lot of stuff and stuff like that. But one of the things that, talking about the music side of things, and I've got a bit more of an understanding since we've been doing these chats, and got more involved with each other as brothers.
Hey,
Good film, 1986, about a guitarist, starring the guy from The Karate Kid.
Oh yeah, Crossroads.
1986. What was that about? Why was it Crossroads? It was about selling your soul to the devil. 17-year-old Eugene Martone has a fascination for blues, And like you said, even in them days, they were talking about how to become famous, selling your soul.
Yeah.
And that was, years and years and years ago. And like you've said, with a lot of the stuff that you've researched and other people that do these chats and talk about all these different types of things, there is so much out there that gives indication what has been put in front of people's eyes in our time, but probably, as we've said, for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And people just haven't had what I would call that awakening.
No.
That awakening that shows them the information that's there. I know you've mentioned it now. I was going to call them PC. They've had two experiences with your mum and with me on one day about things. And the numerology side of things, though, that is important. It's not the main criteria with things.
No, it's a group of things, isn't it?
Yeah. Carol said, she's already started seeing things. Now, is that because we've put that mindset in her brain and she's going to see them, or because all of a sudden something is triggered inside her?
Yeah.
And they're seeing things, same as other people. I mean, you showed which one was it from Whisper Jack?
Oh, I can't remember now. I'll tell you what I did show them. I showed Pete the cartoon, the training cartoon about the dystopian, no meat today and all that kind of stuff. And I also read them the stuff. I showed them the picture of old Klaus Schwab and all that. I mean, whether that bloke's an actor or not, I don't know. But, and I said to Pete, well, what about this point here about basically they want to take all our stuff away? Now, as he said, there's no way they're ever going to be able to do that. They couldn't police that. But just the statement in itself, that's like saying, I'm going to come round to your house and steal all your stuff. You'd have locked me up for that a few years ago. So I showed him a couple of things like that. That was the one. I showed him the thing, the Iowa State Capitol.
That was it.
That was it. The brilliant. No, it's not on Jack's one. That's on that other guy. I can't remember his name now, but it's a different bloke where he actually goes there. He visits it himself, and the base stones, brown sugar. The base stones are 9 feet long. It doesn't tell you how deep they are and tall. How did you get them on top of that hill in a place where it's pretty cold a lot of the time and so on? And he was like, he looked at it, he goes, I've never seen anything like this. I didn't even know it existed. I went, neither did we a few years ago. But there it is.
Yeah.
As we've said, I'm just, who am I? I'm a drummer who's trying to make a living out of a business that I've found out is really corrupt, right? But I do it with good intent and I work with great people and so on. But we learned so much, and the beginning part, I think Chris and Dom's 91 DivoC nonsense kicked us into gear, and that was what was meant to happen. And then from that, we've looked at the old world stuff, we've looked at fake photography, we looked at all these different things. Say 5 things. What was cool with Pete and Carol was they actually watched yours and my video about the mills outside Rocamadour, and Pete said the same thing. He goes, "It's no freaking way that was a mill grinding up corn in that valley miles away from anywhere." So they learnt something from that, which is what we've done. And now you've got all the girls. I think the girls really are on it, more so than the blokes. We got a few guys on there. I mean, it's, again, big shout out to our dentist. I had a great email from him the other day. He's Vietnamese, so he's looking into shenanigans that went on over there. He's also looking into other things that have come because of that, and he is not a happy man about this shit, right? It's like, oh yeah, now I found out what you did to my country. But what's great about it is everybody has their little criteria, and they're able to look and share information. And the one thing that we mustn't do is argue. And I've looked at a couple of things recently. We know there's a few like clowns on YouTube and, whatever they want to call them, trolls or whatever, and they work for YouTube. They cause disruption and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, people will see in the end. And it's like going back to those pictures you sent me, you can see on every single one of those that those guys' heads are superimposed into those suits. Not the one where they're together, but the promo pictures. Well, surely, with all these billions of dollars that you've apparently probably not sucked out of the taxpayer, why couldn't you have a proper picture taken? Why do we have to superimpose? It's just a different head that's been superimposed into it. That's because they're not real. So they're lying to you every which way you try. And these charlatans, there's a band from the UK called The Charlatans. These charlatans, in the end, they're going to have to pay for this big time. When that time comes, and Pete actually told me, goes, yeah, I'm not one of these when you're dead people. He's not religious like us, but he does believe that we're here for a reason, and he certainly does not believe that a certain person with a beard doing the shh, who says we evolved from monkeys, is anything even remotely close to what this is all about. But I said, it's an enlightening thing, mate. And I said, and you will never look back, and you will not be disappointed either. Well,
there's so much information out there.
Yeah.
It's just like, if you don't look at things, if you just blink and go, well, I'm not going to read that, whether you believe it or not. If you go, well, that's just bullshit, so I'm not going to read it. If you don't read it, you don't get to understand what the article is about. So you have to read it and go, right, well, I mean, that's bullshit, and I'm going to look at this and see why. You've got to. Yes, you can't just go, fuck, this is boring, I'm going to delete it. Same with all the other different bits and bobs. As you know, I'm a real sci-fi buff, and I have been for years and years. That's why I collected all that Star Wars stuff when I was younger. But when you look at all the different things that are being opened up for people to look at now, 24, 25. 2026 is going to be a big eye-opener for people. Mark my words.
Oh, it's coming, mate. It's coming, for sure.
Forget the 2030 at the moment, just the 2026 with what they're going to show if this moon launch takes off and all the other different types of things, and how they're going to, how they're building the ships to go to Mars. Well, brilliant. Damn fine. If it's not possible, people should be questioning why they're saying it is possible. And the powers that be, like you have said, and we've known that I know that through certain experiences on a lot lower level, not government level, but on a lot lower level, that are actually instigated at government level and put down to the MPs that run councils and all the other types of things, that then say, this is what you need to do and this is what's going to happen. If you don't do it, this is what's going to happen. Shit rolls downhill.
Yeah. Chain of command, like you said.
And it always stops at the lower person. And when it goes wrong, it's always the lower person. I'm not talking about lowering.
Who has to take it up the jacksie.
Yeah, they're the ones that, they always have to have a scapegoat. And I think we'll talk about some of the other stuff on another one, because we sort of focused on the moon landing, the NASA stuff, and all the other types of. But we'll talk about what we believe are the fake assassinations. I think now we do a little bit more research and get
the old
some
Captain
photographs.
Kirk, the old Captain Kirk, and all that. Yeah, I mean, hilarious.
Not just that one. Our photographs that we got of the old orange guy and all that information. I'll do a bit of research.
But what I was going to say to you quickly on this, because you're coming over Friday anyway, so we'll do another one at the weekend. But what I was going to say was two things. One I used in the little clip I did yesterday, which is about we got this paper through saying that the old gendarmerie, the old local plod. We're going to be up at the Mary doing a talk for people about a cyber attack. You must get out of there. All that Schwabian bollocks, right? And like you said, you were investigating that kind of shit years ago, right? So again, why would they start doing that now? We've not in 20 years, you've never had that, and this has been going on for decades, right? So okay, why would they do that? Well, that's your digital ID thing. That's another subject in itself. And the thing I wanted to mention on that front was Neil being an old pervert. Serge being a bit of a perv, right? No, but
this was
an experiment. It was an experiment. Let me tell the story, right? It's an experiment, right? So we said years ago, right? Most boys, they had the old, use the term, wank mags hidden under their bed. Hope their dad didn't find them because he was going to steal them and all this kind of stuff. Escort magazine, girls with their bits out and all this kind of stuff. It's been going on since Victorian times, right? So it's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm not ashamed of it. But years ago, you had your top shelf, bookshelf and all this kind of stuff and so on. I think we'll end on this one because this is a good one to end on. The old old facial recognition, the old porno thing, right? So you got your photographers, you got your musicians, right? And then you got your XXX adult so-called movie stars, right? Which has been going on for a long time. So years ago, if you wanted anything like that, you either had to nick it off your dad, or you kept your page 3 pictures, Samantha Fox and all that kind of stuff.
Linda Lusardi.
Yeah, Linda Lusardi and everything with their boobs out, right? So, and then people turn around and go, yeah, you're such a misogynistic male. And it's like, oh, shut up, for God's sake, right? But anyway, used to keep all that sort of stuff. Nearly everybody I know I worked in a garage. They had page 3 girls all over the walls and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, now you're told that's like non-PC. You mustn't do that anymore. But by the way, half the girls walking around with push-up bras on, right? So give it, whatever. Give that a rest. So we had the music thing. We all basically lost our jobs thanks to certain organisations that allowed you to put your music up there for free and other people steal it. Well, then a few years back, I always remember Marcus, my mate Marcus, who worked for Sting. He goes, do you know what? If you got a bunch of pictures and video clips and you put them on the internet, you could make a load of money out of that, of a certain subject, which would be girls doing things with guys and whatever, right? So you used to have to go online and you used to have to prove that you were of a certain age and normally use a credit card. And there were lots of cases back then in the sort of, I suppose, the late 80s, early 90s, where young blokes were pinching their dad's credit cards, right? Signing up to www.com, right? So they could wax their carrot on a Saturday night when their mum and dad had gone out. I don't wish to come across as crude, but that is the case of it. So then all of a sudden, over the last, I would say, 10 years? All of a sudden, there are hundreds of websites where you can look at just about anything you could imagine. And nobody seemed to think that was a problem, right? Oh, it's okay. You just press the yes, I'm 18, even though I'm 13 button, and you can get in and you can look at all this stuff. So this thing has run for a period of time. And then all of a sudden, X amount of years later, they're now turning around saying, oh, no, this is a no. You can't have this anymore. Now you have to prove that you are who you say you are to get on these sites. So all the all the sort of famous porn stars and everything, they all lost their jobs, right? It's like, hang on a minute, we got to go over to one of these other platforms like Only Knobs, right? We got to go over to that now and run it ourselves, because everything that we've ever done is being given away for free, which is exactly the same thing that they've done with musicians and artists, and exactly the same thing that they've done with photographers and photography. You know, Uncle Bob gets the latest iPhone, the wedding photographer in the town is out of a job, right? And then all of a sudden, the characters that allowed all that to happen are now turning around saying, no, you can't do that anymore. Now we need digital ID, facial scans and all this kind of stuff to get on these sites, which is perfectly not reasonable not to do that, but to show that you are of an age where you can access this sort of stuff. Anyway, over to you, because you did an experiment to see how it went.
Well, it was quite funny because, it's like when you look at what sites need it. I understand why. You said, we've had a chat about it. Is it right that people below a certain age are able to access these sites? No, it's not right, and it's criminal. And there are reasons
100%.
why.
Yeah.
It's criminal. So we're not saying that the age authorization thing is not a good thing, but it's very easy to fake things, again, as we know. Reddit, and you know what Reddit is, social media platform, that uses age authorization on its technology. I've just read a thing to say that Telegram is going to be using, which we're on, Telegram is going to be using facial scans to confirm age. Blue Sky is offering a range of age verifications you can create, including with their credit cards and facial scannings. Google, it's another one.
Well, that's the biggie, isn't it?
Yep, Yoti is the app where you can put all your bank details on, you can put this stuff on, you can do your ID, you can have all that time. So you can buy off of Uber Eats in the UK. So the UK, France, a lot of states in America are already, and a lot of other places are already using this facial recognition. So I thought, well, I'll have a little test and see what it is.
It was Saturday night. You'd had a couple of glasses of wine. You were ready for the champagne of success.
Well,
as Bill Burr said. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
obviously not like that. He's a professional.
So I logged onto X and it said age verification required under the new laws and legislation in the country that we live in. I just thought, well, follow it through, went on to Yoti. You do not have a Yoti account. So after about 3 hours of being spammed there and this and everything else, it didn't work. And I just thought, well, okay, fine. Well, there's obviously issues with this thing. Couldn't recognise the image. Your camera's not the right quality. Log on to your mobile phone so that it can record your IP address and all the other types of shit and stuff like that. And again, as I said, it was just an experiment. So I took a
anybody who listens to this is going to go, yeah, right.
Yeah, right, yeah. So I took a photograph of a different image. I put that in front of the old camera to see if it'd do it. It said the picture quality is not good enough. So in the end, I just thought, do you know what? I just used my own face. So I didn't shave for over a week. Didn't brush me hair. I looked like some
great big bushy beard.
Trampy dude. Yeah, great big bushy beard. Some trampy dude been found in the side alley. I tried to upload the image and it was like, no, not good enough quality, which I thought was really, really funny. So after, as I said to you, I talked to you about it. I said, well, I'll try this and I'll try that just to see if it works. So I pulled this really bad, gurning, dirty old bastard facial image on the thing and it recognised me straight away.
That's because it already knows you as a dirty bastard.
It's like, what's it about? But when you think about, when you're looking at all these sites now that are using age identification, and I know I've got friends that have tried to identify themselves off of their bank cards and stuff like that, and they said, no, it's not. It's my mate in England. No, can't use that card. Well, hold on a minute. It's a Visa debit card. No, can't do that. It's got no photograph on there. What they're doing is they're storing data.
Of course they
and that's what this whole experiment. It's just like they're storing data, facial recognition. Why are passports now required to have the ID, your eye, retina scan? You stand in front of a customs thing. I got sent, I've got a French passport now, but, I went back to England years ago using my English passport, and I got sent, I was in the job. I was on a job.
Oh, yeah.
And I got sent to customs.
Yeah, as a policeman officer.
As a policeman officer. So my governor and the supervisor that I was with went through the thing, and I got sent to customs. They went, well, you haven't got a passport that's got retinal scanning on it.
Yeah.
Went,
and that was years ago.
Yeah, and I said my passport doesn't run out for another 5 years. I went, no, you need to update your passport. Well, that was over 15 years ago.
Oh yeah.
So I can't.
Well, it like you said before, we're getting close to the end here, because I wanted to bring up just quickly about the like I said, the old local plod being up the road and going to be, no disrespect to them, but talking to people about cybercrime and everything, which of course the Schwabian Empire wants to talk about and so on. And of course, like you said, people do have to be careful because there are some crooks out there and so on. But
it happens to millions of people every day.
Yeah.
I've been hacked.
Oh yeah,
My missus had her card hacked, didn't she? Bless her.
Yeah.
And she bought 27 pairs of jeans in Paris. Really?
Oh yeah, I bought a washing machine in Germany. Years ago, back in there.
Probably because it's the time of year. Like I was going to talk to you about. It's the time of year. We're going into autumn, then winter, when particularly they try and target elderly people. As we know, and that's the relevance of that side of it. The other side of it is, I've refused to do it on any of my bank accounts, do fingerprint ID, photograph ID, or anything else like that. I've got a good old PIN number. I don't use the old contactless. I either type it in or they don't get it. It's as simple as that.
This is what I was going to say. They're always talking about your security. Now, I have to double check this. You can have a look at this afterwards. But Pete told me, he goes, oh, yeah, the old contact thing, your contact card now in England is 200 quid, 200 pound. And I said, well, why would you even use that in the first place? You're given a PIN number for a reason, right? They're talking to you about your cyber security, but they're also saying that, by the way, if someone finds your card lying on the floor and you haven't reported it in, they can milk you off for 200 quid, right? So neither of those two things add up.
Yeah, it used to be the maximum you could do on contactless in the UK was £30.
Yeah.
Per transaction.
Yeah. You could do 5 transactions in a day.
Well, over that, you can clear someone's bank account out.
Exactly. So going back to just quickly, because we're rocking on an hour and 18 minutes here. So really, if you look back at the movies again, let's go just quickly through. And also, I'd just like to say really quickly, Stephanie, I'll put a link. I was subscribed to your channel. I don't know why it says I'm not in there anymore. But Stephanie did a load of stuff with Michelle Gibson. Little Sarah, bless you, mate. And anybody that, the guys that commented on various little bits and pieces, we're just part of a very small army and, just really trying to not sort of make sense of any of this, because there is no sense in this, but just trying to, in a light-hearted way like Chris and Dom do, it's like you have to laugh at these things. But really, if you go back to the movies, it is literally Skynet, innit? It's Terminator. That's what it is turning into.
Yeah.
I mean, not even 1984. I mean, that's part of it, but total surveillance. Like I said, you won't be able to go into the toilet unless you can log into something. I think one of the movies that I thought was kind of cool at the end, and I didn't like, we talked about this before, was the World's End, where they go to the pub at the end, and eventually what happens at the end is everybody goes back to basics. A couple get together, living in a caravan. The guy gets back together with his wife. They're farming. They're doing all these things together. He's sitting there talking to a bunch of kids around a fire. That's what it will eventually, maybe not in our lifetime, come back to. And I think the old technocrats or whatever you want to call it. Everything has become so, we must have this, we must have that. And, you know, I mean, Neil's a great shopper. He always goes out and gets the stuff we want. But we're not extravagant with anything like that we do. We only get things that we need. And they're things like I was saying to Pete and Carol, they're only in their 70s. I'm 60, Neil's 59. You know, we got another decade of this nonsense with these twats ahead. It's nice to think that you can be on a level ground with people and maybe help, and they help you, right?
If anyone's listening and they can hear some snoring in the background,
that's the dog.
It's not me.
Send me a picture of the dog so I can slot her in.
Like you said, I mean, it's my anniversary next month, and I'll just take a picture of her while she's laying there snoring.
Everyone likes a dog or a cat picture. That gets you hundreds of hits.
You think about, and we won't go into the ages and stuff like that, but you think about our family.
Yeah.
We think we can't prove, but we think we got good life genes. That's why our family members have made as old as they have done. Yeah. And we're not talking about dying by accidental death or anything else and those type of things, but, you know, positivity, positive thinking, you know, taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. We could have another 30 years. Easy.
Oh, yeah.
30 years is another lifetime of people working. I worked in the public service, as you know, in 3 services for 37 years. 30 years is a whole thing. Like you said to Pete and Carol, they're only in their early 70s. They could last another 20 years and go through all of this again. All the problems that are going to arise for the younger generation, but all the problems that will arise over the next 10, 15 years as they're growing up. They will be no different to we were, or my kids are that aren't kids. They're all adults. Yeah. And there will be. It's that circle. It's that great circle of life.
Oh, the Lion King. The Lion King, mate.
That great circle of life where people learn. But if I was educated when I joined the army at 16, as a boy soldier, into what I understand and believe now, and that wasn't the path that was laid out for me then, it would have made it a completely different life experience.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a brilliant point because, like I said, you know, when people turn around and you know, I've heard these things about, you know, people going like, oh, yeah, you know, if you speak out, if you say anything, you're going to... I've never had anybody really say anything nasty to me or anything like that. So, and that kind of thing, because it's never worried me. I really don't care what anybody thinks anyway. You know, like you're the same, right? I think on an end note, this is, as we've said so many times, this is like a little adventure that we're living through. We're obviously here and we have to do the things that we feel are right. And I think that the big door opener was the 2020 vision thing, and we've learnt so many things, and really we ought to be grateful for those things that we've learned. And we've also met some really interesting people like Mike Williams. Like I said, he hooked me up with I should be so lucky, you know, he hooked me up with Mike Stock and all this kind of stuff, and we just keep doing what we're doing.
Yeah, the other thing is, not because of what's coming up, because you know I'm coming over to you, but certain life experiences open your eyes up. Losing my missus, as you know, opened my eyes up.
Yeah, yeah.
I just think I sat around blinkered about what was going on. Just, I don't know, doing like, yeah, this is great. Let's do this every day and let's do that and everything else. And then all of a sudden it was a whole different experience. That one day... 2 years ago next week, without too much, and you can cut and edit whatever you want, whatever
leave
it is.
In, mate. It's great. And Mitch is turning up next week as well, who was there at the day.
Yeah, exactly. I know, it's a bit spooky, but she's coming on the Tuesday and going on the Wednesday, and that's when it all happens. So I'm just
it's meant to be, you see. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
These things are brought to us because they're meant to be brought to us.
Yeah.
And that's a story.
The whole experience, the inner and outer body experience that you can... The inner and outer body experience that you can feel for a traumatic thing that can open your eyes. And,
exactly.
You know, I'm not like... the be-all and end-all of knowledge in regards to that. But as I've said to you, I swear blind that what happened opened my eyes to a whole different experience, and all the changes that have happened over the last 2 years with the people that I work with out here, the association, the work with the kids, the work with the forestry, all those different types of things. That would never have happened if that experience hadn't have taken part of my life.
Oh, yeah. When Sarah did the thing with me and she was telling me about her dad, it was all about her dad, you know, and I think she was 100% genuine, and I believe that what she was putting forward was a story that should inspire other people. And we're going down to, when Neil comes over, when our Serge comes over next week, we're going for a dinner with a friend of ours, Annie, a French lady. She just lost her husband. They're a little bit older. He was a great guy, you know, and she's not let it get her down. She's having those evenings where the evenings are always worse. But old Alain said when he was on his way out, his final legs of the tour here on this realm, he goes, just remember all the good things that we did. That's all you have to remember. And that's what he said about the parties and the dinners and stuff like that. And that's what it's all about. And that's what you have to share with people, because this business of when you're dead, mate, oh, it sounds so final. But as we've said, we don't believe it is the final chapter. And
yeah, but why do people think that this is the end?
Yeah,
it can't.
Of course, it's not.
It's not. It's a different subject, and
so we'll leave it at that. Anyway, all right, mate. Well, we're going to. Hopefully, this all came out good. It looks okay on the old screen there. Thanks, anybody who listens in. Us rambling on. We try and keep it. You know, I mean, we're just following the pattern of the others that inspired us to do it, like Chris and Dom especially. Thanks, guys. Yeah, we love you all. Thanks very much. And old me and Serge cutting hair next week, maybe. He's going to cut my hair off. We'll sign out and say thanks for listening in.
Bye.